It's the time in our service that we set aside so we can turn within. And as you sit there, I invite you to do that. Just close your eyes and take in a deep breath and then release. Relax. Put both your feet flat on the ground and relax. Breathe in, hold it, and then release. And as you breathe in, know that you breathe in God. And as you release love. Breathe in God and release love. And then breathe in love and release God. For God and love and you are all one. You are God made manifest. You are God's hands and feet. You are God's way of expressing presence of the divine on this planet at this time. So relax. You are a beloved child of God. And there is nothing that will ever, ever change that. Even when appearances would have us live in fear or worry, the truth of who we are overpowers that. We say at Unity, wherever God is, or wherever you are, God is, and all is well. And that's true. Wherever you are, God is. For it is the Christ center at the heart of your being that is the divine expression. We can set aside all of our fears and concerns, and as we look at Halloween, we can think of terms of letting go of the skeletons of our past, letting go of the goblins that have made our lives miserable. We can let go of all of those things. For right now we affirm who we really are. And we're more than, and we're above any of those earthly expressions. God is and we are. Right now. In your own way, I'd like you to silently affirm that God is and I am. God is and I am. For the I am is that God expression. At the burning bush, God said, I am, and that I am. So we know that that is a divine expression. I am. I am fearless. I'm above all that would make me afraid. For God is, and I am. We let go of appearances. We let go of fear. And we walk knowing the truth that wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let us pray. Mother, Father God, we thank you for this time that we come within ourselves and we listen to the Spirit speak. And we know we don't have to do this just on Sunday morning. At any time in our busy week, we can set aside a few minutes. We can focus ourselves. We can turn within. And we can touch the divine within us. And we thank you for this truth that really, truly sets us free. And so it is. Amen. So I moved because I looked at last week's tape and I looked stupid sitting there. So I think I do. I think I look like, duh, what are you doing? So I moved. Did it look better? I got it that. So my engineer back there says it's like that. You probably would have done that no matter what I did, right? You look great in the video. No, I just thought, I looked at that. Did anybody look at the videos? Have anybody looked at them? They're posted. Don't you think me just sitting there like a lump? Okay. I was holding JJ. I don't think I was last week, though. I am. I know that. Thank you very much. Thanks for the reminder. So we had 2 award-winning actresses with us last week who did an amazing job, and based on popular demand, one of them has returned this week. And now this week, your job is to tell me or figure out what it is she is doing. But she's such a good actress, you're going to have no trouble. You're going to know right away. But let's return to our stage, Nancy McNatt. Yes. Well, I think that if you do it right here, or they can stand up, whatever. That's flexible. Okay. All right. She's building a fire. Good job. Who did that? Who got that? Was that you, Ben? I think that was you. You got it? Several people shouted it out? Yeah. The striking the match? Well, actually, I wanted to do the Flint thing, but that's okay. You know, temperamental actresses and how they are, you give her. Did you notice the first thing she said was, everybody can't see me. That's an actress coming through. You can get her autograph later. So what was going on here is she's trying to start a fire, and that's the point I wanted you to get. But what else is going on here? I want you to think deeply now. Besides the fact she was trying to start a fire, what else was she doing? She was gathering. She was building. Can you think of an overall term that she was doing? With all the, if you summed up all of the, what was she doing? She was taking action. She was participating. She was making it happen. And our lesson this week is titled Participating in Life, making it happen. Not just sitting back and letting it happen, but making it happen. Without active participation in that fire building that she was up to, a fire probably wouldn't have been built. If she hadn't decided to build it in such a way to protect it, a gust of wind could have come along. Okay, well, an imaginary gust of wind could have come along and blown out the flame. Or there could have been not enough spark from that match to get the whole thing going. She had to participate to make it happen. I love these words that Ernest Holmes wrote in the Science of Man magazine, and he said this: all the power and intelligence of the universe is already within, waiting to be utilized. The divine spark must be fanned into a blaze of the living fire of your own divinity. I want you to think about that for a minute. All of the power and intelligence of the universe is already within you, waiting to be utilized. The divine spark has to be fanned in order for the living fire of your own divinity. So what I'm getting from this, and what I hope you're getting from this, is this fact. That spark of the Christ is in you. You're born with it. Paul wrote it of it, and he said it's the Christ in you that is your hope of glory. But just that little spark in there, without you building it and fanning it and protecting it and making it happen, it's not going to turn into a blaze, or it's not going to turn into a roaring fire of faith. It's up to you to decide how you're going to work with that little bitty spark of the Christ that's in you. So we started with a Girl Scout pantomime here, and we grew up and we looked at how that might be. But I want to tell you this story, a true story, of a little boy who had the opportunity to grow up and live his dream. He fanned the divine spark that was in him, and he made it happen. And this is a true story. His name is Ricky C. Hunley. Anybody athletic enough to know that name? Nobody. Interesting. Well, okay, that was who he was. He grew up poor. He grew up in the projects, and he had 6 brothers and 3 sisters, so there were 10 kids in a 2-bedroom project house. There were also a varying assortment of foster kids in and out of his life because his mom and dad had a source of income there, and they kept that going. There was little money and very few worldly goods, but what they did have is they had lots of love and lots of attention. He was a happy little guy and had lots and lots of energy and understood that no matter how poor a person was, they could still have a dream. Ricky's dream was athletics, and he was gifted in that way. By 16, he had demonstrated he had an ability in both baseball and football, and his high school coach, Coach Jarvis, encouraged him all of the time to cultivate his skills. He believed in Ricky, and he taught him to believe in himself. He taught him the difference between having a dream and living a dream is about fully participating in life so that the dream can become a reality. Lots of people have this wistful thinking of, I wish I could, I wish I would. But he understood that you had to fully participate in life in order to make the dream become a reality. And I think that's something we often forget. I think we forget sometimes, and we do wistfully sit around wishing that this would happen or that would happen. We are the vehicles that bring one infinite, invisible mind into tangible form. We are also here so that God can be expressed through us. We are here for purpose. We are the vehicles. We are the hands and feet of the divine. We are the way that God is made manifest into tangible form on this planet at this time. And that's how God gets expressed. When we look at those heroes that we have, like Mother Teresa, we realize exactly the truth of this statement, but we so often tend to forget the truth of this statement when it comes to us. We are, you are, the tangible expression of God right now on this planet. We are that which will cause change. We were put here by the divine at this point in time, deliberately on purpose, so that we could ignite a spark. And we could fan it, and we could grow it, and we could allow it to become that flame. Each of us are here to discover who we are and to harness the power that was innately given to us, that spark of the Christ at the moment we were born. And we get to do things. We get to make a difference. We get to build great and good dreams. We get to influence people. We get to bless ourselves and our world around us. We get to be the change in our neighborhoods and in our cities and in our schools. And when we're living our dream, we're doing what we individually, as a unique and individualized expression of God, what we were put here to do. That's our purpose. So Ricky had dreams of becoming a professional athlete. And one particular incident took place in his life that caused him to think it. It was the summer between his junior and senior year, and a friend of his offered to get him a job. And he said, I can get you a job, I guarantee you. And in fact, he did, and Ricky was offered a job, and he had a chance for the first time in his life to have a little money in his pocket and maybe to take a girl out for a movie on Saturday night, or maybe do something to get a new bike or have some new clothes or some things that his life hadn't really offered to him. Maybe he could start saving to buy his mother a house, which he had always sworn he would do. The project or the prospect of a summer job was pretty enticing, and Ricky jumped at the opportunity to get that job, and he realized in order to do that, he was going to have to give up summer baseball. He couldn't play baseball and work the job that he had been offered. So he had to tell Coach Jarvis the truth. He had to say, I'm not going to be able to play this year. And the coach was mad. Just as Ricky kind of thought he would be, he was pretty mad. And the coach said this to him, you have your whole life to work. Your playing days are limited. You can't afford to waste them. Ricky stood before the coach and hung his head and tried to think about what he was saying and how he was going to have to give up those immediate dreams he had for Saturday night dates and some new clothes and starting a savings account. And then the coach said to him, how much are they paying you? And Ricky said, $3.25 an hour. And remember, this was back before the 70s, so that was a good income for a kid. So it seemed like a lot of money to him. And then the coach said, well, is $3.25 the price of a dream? And it cost him to think. And once it was pointed out to him that he was going to sell his dream for $3.25 an hour, he rethought what he should do that summer. And for a 16-year-old boy, that's a pretty interesting thought, this idea about what am I selling my dream out? At what price? What am I accepting to not follow my dream? And it's something that many of us, me included, have had to deal with in our lifetime. And many of us have not yet learned. What is the price that we will accept to give up our dream? Are we doing our purpose? Are we following our mission? Are we fully engaged and fully participating in the life we were put here to be? Or have we sold out for $3.25 an hour? What were we put here to do that will ignite the spirit of the divine within us that can help change the world in which we lived? Well, Ricky decided what he was going to do is he was going to dedicate himself to summer baseball, and that's exactly what he did. And within a year, and remember, he was still a junior about to enter his senior year, within a year he had been drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he was playing for their rookie league team and was offered $20,000 a year. But he had already been offered a full-ride scholarship, so he turned down the scholarship because he said, my dream is worth more than $20,000 a year. And that led him to get his education. And that led him to have 2 consecutive seasons where he was an All-American linebacker. And he was chosen 7th overall in the NFL draft, and he was signed with the Denver Broncos for $1.7 million his rookie year. He bought his mother that house, by the way. He paid cash, and he began to live his dream. He's written about his experience, and he's talked about it, and he does guest appearances. And when he does that, he says there are 4 things that he wants us to understand about participating in our life. And he's summed them up as, number 1, play. Number 2, pray. Number 3, pay. Number 4, stay. And this morning, I'd like to look at each of those individually. First, you have to play. Ricky Hunley got into sports because they were fun for him. And the first question we ask in the process of catching God's higher vision for our lives is there something that I'd love to do? Is there something that I'd love to be? Is there something I'd love to have? Is there something I'd love to experience? And if there is, does that vision give me life and excitement? Does it enliven me? Does it cause me to wake up every morning excited about this mission that I'm on? This is where the enthusiasm and the passion and the participation are born, so that we create for ourselves and we live that life that we were meant to live. My friends, we cannot ignite the spark of the divine within us if we experience life as drudgery. We cannot ignite the spark of the divine within us if we experience life as fear, as hopeless, as something less than wonderful. And some of us have this experience we must go through, but we have to keep our eye on the ball, if you will. We have to understand that we're more than this. Marianne Williamson wrote it this way. She says, we cannot know who we are except in allowing ourselves to recognize how good things are. Joy is what happens when we see God's plan is perfect, and we're already starring in a perfect show. The second thing Ricky talked about is to pray. And I ask you that question, how often do we openly, sincerely connect with our higher wisdom, with what we call God? How often do we connect with that divine that has the ability to help us and to guide us? How often do we sit down with our divine spirit and talk about our goals and our expectations and what we want to accomplish? Ricky Hunley actually did that. And when he talks in public, he talks about his prayer practice. So what do we need when we talk about prayer? You know, the truth is it can be a beautifully lined out, fleshed out prayer, and it can be very, very wordy. And you know, as we were singing the Lord's Prayer this morning, I was thinking about that. You know, the Lord's Prayer is really a whole list of affirmation. Do you realize that? It's not a begging prayer. It's an affirmation. This is the truth. This is the truth. And this is the truth. And that's what we talk about when we talk about a long, fleshed out prayer. Or it can be pretty simple. It says, God is good, and that is all. That's also a prayer. You can say, I have a profound clarity, and I'm grateful that I do. And that is all. That's a prayer. You can say, God is, and all is well. And that also is prayer. We can step away a little bit, and we can allow ourselves to get some answers. You know, I say prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening. It doesn't do any good to pray if we're not going to take the time out to sit in the quiet and listen for direction. We're not going to figure it out unless we take time out to sit and listen. Francis Cardinal Spellman in his lifetime said, pray as if everything depended on God, but work as if everything depended upon you. And that's a good idea. The third idea is be prepared to pay. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where it really happens. This is where enthusiasm and passion and participation can. And you know what? Lots of time it's hard work. It doesn't happen easily. We can't look for shortcuts. There isn't a way that's going to go around it. We can't pay somebody else to do it for us. We have to pay the price. We have to do the work. We have to do whatever that work is. And we have to stay inspired while we're doing it. We can't wait to be inspired every day by some outside thing that's going to spark us. We have to have that within ourselves. And even when it feels a bit drudgery, we have to keep going. We have to believe our dream is important enough that we will do whatever it takes and go through whatever it takes to allow it to happen. We have to remain committed to our vision. We have to remain committed to what our goal is. We have to remain committed to our God in order for it to work. We have to stay on course. And that takes work. Even when you don't feel like it, you have to stay on course. And that's what it takes to ignite the spirit of the divine flame within us. This morning I want to share the law of Goya with you. I'm not sure you guys are ready for it, but I thought, anybody know the law of Goya? Because that would be a pretty spiritually advanced person who did that. Well, I really thought about it. I thought I really don't know if I should. It's a pretty ancient truth. It's a little difficult to live with. It's a really high-level law, and so I'm hoping that you can handle it. You think you can handle it? Okay. The law of Goya is the law of getting off your assets. You cannot just sit on your assets and wait for it all to happen for you. You have to go out there and do it. Actions are the bridge between the inner world and the outer world. Action is what it takes in order to make this dream in here become this reality out there. And you can't talk about it. Vince Lombardi, who's one of my most favorite motivational speakers, said, the winner is the one who's willing to get out on the field and play the game. And that's the truth about achieving our goals. We have to be willing to play the game. We have to get out there. So whatever it is that your life is asking you to do, whatever your inspiration is, whatever it is that you know that you were put here to do it full out. Be willing to work. Take action. And finally, Ricky's fourth point was to stay. We decide to stay and hold fast through the dead calm or the scary storm. We hold fast regardless of appearances, and we won't turn back. One of the most amazing facts about people who are in recovery is that when they've decided to recover, regardless of what that might be, an addiction or alcoholism or whatever it is, the first year is pretty stormy. And the challenge is to hold fast to my commitment, because it always happens that first year out. So we have to hold fast. We have to stand firm. We have to say, this is my mission, this is why I'm here, and this is what I'm going to do. The truth is, life's a roller coaster. And we can either ride it terrified and screaming at the top of our lungs, or we can get to the top of the hill and throw our arms in the air and say, yeah, let's go. That's up to us. It's been said that there are two significant parts or characteristics of every great life. One is the capacity to make a good beginning, and the second is to push on to a good ending. I love this from Notes from the Universe. When you finally get that call, meet that person, walk that walk, and live that dream, do you think you'll ever even care that there were a few dark and scary moments in the journey that made them all possible? Trust me, you won't even remember. Signed, the Universe. So there we have it. To ignite the spark of the divine flame within us, we must fully participate by playing and praying and paying and staying. God bless you. Have a great week.